Movies were made about her, newspapers all over the world trumpeted about her. Doris Payne is the most famous diamond thief. She has been robbing jewelry stores from Monte Carlo to California for more than 70 years. She led the police of many countries by the nose and seemed elusive. But the theft in the supermarket forced the fraudster to tie up with a criminal past. In 2016, the series Who is Doris Payne was released in Hollywood, where Halle Berry played the role of the most famous fraudster in the world. Ms. Payne personally advised the screenwriters, honestly telling the big milestones of her difficult scam path. The series, to be honest, leaves an ambiguous aftertaste that Doris Payne is a kind of Robin Hood in a skirt, stole only from the rich, spent a lot of money on the poor, her family and friends. But in reality, Payne's criminal talent was born out of acute poverty. The fraudster spent her entire childhood in the slums, so for the sake of a well-fed and rich life, she was ready for anything. Payne was born in the mining village of Slab Fork, was the fifth child. A large family could hardly fit in a plywood shack. The father was interrupted by casual earnings, only to find money for food and cheap swill. Hungry children dug potatoes in the neighbors' gardens. The mother, once a beautiful Cherokee, was permanently in a state of Black Depression. She was even pulled out of the loop. At the age of 16, she firmly decides to become a Hollywood actress, especially since everyone around her notes the unusual beauty of Doris. Long-legged, slender, well-read, with huge almond-shaped eyes. Yes, the dream factory dreams of her but Payne didn't make it to Hollywood. One trip to the store changed everything. For the successful completion of school, Mom gave Doris money to buy herself an inexpensive watch. During the fitting in the salon, a white client came in there. And according to the Jim Crow laws, blacks had no right to buy goods in the same stores as white Americans, so the visit of the gentleman scared both the seller and Doris herself. She rushed to the exit, forgetting to take off her watch. This ease of accidental theft stunned the girl. It turns out that beautiful things and money can be obtained so easily. Doris starts stealing a lot and often. Pretty quickly she earned enough to move to a large city of Pittsburgh. There, to distract the eyes, the diamond thief gets a fake job as a nurse, and in his spare time begins to look closely at the jewelry stores of the city. It should be noted that the girl turned out to be, as they would say now, a talented brand manager. Doris spreads the legend that she is the bride of a rich lawyer from the north of the state, who does not spare money for his beloved. Here's a personal driver for you. Here are the most branded outfits. Under the cover of this fiction, she decides on a big deal, appears in a jewelry store where she puts a diamond ring for $20,000 in her pocket. In the evening, she will sell it in a pawn shop for $8,000, and a day later she will buy her mother a house. The first, real, not plywood house clothes acquaintance with pawn shops leads her to a meeting with the owner of usury offices, the Jew Harold Braunfeld. They quickly become lovers. Harold realizes that Doris' criminal ambitions need to be expanded geographically. New cities and new jewelry boutiques will increase both the number of thefts and confuse the police. These scam tours lasted a year and allowed Doris to fully experience what it means to bathe in luxury. She took a vacation in Miami and Cuba, hired a personal driver, and bought fashion collections. Later, she gave birth to 2 children from Harold and decided to give up her criminal past. Still, is there anything other than a dream life? But Doris was sad. I regularly sent my relatives checks that provided them with a comfortable life. I owned 4 houses, including a real brick mansion, which I had dreamed of since childhood. But I was not created for motherhood and everyday life. A woman who steals jewelry all over the world doesn't spend a lot of time in one place, Payne later said in an interview. The fraudster was driven by excitement. Yes, money was important, but even more important was the feeling of adrenaline during the theft and the feeling of omnipotence and victory after. Ah ha ha ha, I've left you with a nose again, fat-bellied. Paris, Rome, Florence, Vienna, Zurich, Lucerne. In each new country, Doris changes fake passports and one luxury apartment for another. She gives the impression of an heiress of a rich family name, which in Europe is squandering the parental fortune. Today she puts big winnings on bets. Tomorrow she plays roulette in Monte Carlo. The day after tomorrow she listens to the opera in Milan. However, he does not forget to visit the Cartier and Chopard boutique in every city. For example, in Monaco, pretending to be the wife of the shipyard owner, Payne stole a 10-carat diamond ring. The price of the jewel was $500,000. Doris immediately rushed to the airport from the store, but forgot to change her clothes, and the gendarmes detained her at passport control. But soudain, the ring was not found on her. After all, it's not for nothing that Doris dreamed of Hollywood. She performed her acting perfectly. At the last moment, she took the ring out of the frame and put the stone in her mouth. Then she pretended to faint. Napkins were brought to her instantly. In them she deftly but imperceptibly spat out a diamond. In the toilet, with the help of a needle and thread stolen from a guard, she sewed the jewel into the hem of her dress. The thief was taken to the hospital, from where she quickly escaped through the window in the toilet. The most interesting thing is that she will repeat the trick of escaping from the toilet window many times, but this will not force Interpol to draw any conclusions. They say the whole reason is the immense charm of Doris. She could chat anyone. And not just to talk, but to make you believe in the sincerity of what was said. Meanwhile, in the USA, Doris sold the jewel for $150,000 and decided that she had had enough of her dashing life. But the American is not satisfied. And after 5 years, she decides to fly to Europe just once. Once ended with the theft of rings, earrings, and pendants for $920,000. Most of all, boutique owners were killed because of the limited Van Cleef watches and arpels. They were in a single copy and forever sunk into oblivion in some American pawnshop. Doris is on a horse. The moneybags are amazed again. Her success intoxicates her. But then she makes a mistake. For the first time before the theft, she decides to drink champagne. Alcohol reduced the thief's skill, and she was caught stealing a Rolex watch. And so stupidly by the hand. Diamond Doris was put on a train to Geneva, where the American embassy was located, but on the way Payne jumped out of the toilet window. She broke her leg, a couple of ribs, dislocated her shoulder, crawled around the field for several hours, until she met fellow travelers who took her to Zurich, from where she flew to the USA. Anyway, it turns out I got off easy anyway. The FBI only came out to Doris in 1984. I walked into the room of a woman who stole several $1 million worth of jewelry and just couldn't believe my eyes. One of the detectives said later. It was the run-down home of a penniless African-American woman, of which there are thousands in Harlem. Washing in the basin, trash, some unwashed chouer is sitting in front of the TV, an elderly, seemingly cocaine addict. As it turned out, the mistress's roommate. Maybe we got the wrong address. And where are the billions? And everyone's gone. Huge sums of money were spent to save Doris's elderly mother from cancer. Then thousands of dollars were paid to rehab to cure her son of drug addiction, plus numerous expenses for lawyers. Payne's extradition was demanded by dozens of countries. She was tried in 10 American states. When the money for expensive lawyers ran out, she was still given the first term, 12 years. The Diamond Thief Queen served 5 years. When she was released in 2013, she didn't even have anywhere to go. All the property was sold by relatives. Senny's daughter didn't want to hear anything about her mother, even forbade her grandchildren to communicate with her grandmother. Then Doris decides to sell her life story as a script, in which she utters a phrase that has become a winged. "I don't regret stealing jewelry. I regret that I was caught." On the fee from the filming, the pensioner moved to Atlanta and rented a room. It is here that on December 13, 2016, she goes to steal for the last time. She takes out $86 worth of groceries from the supermarket. Moreover, it is unclear what she was counting on. The thief was under house arrest for stealing gold earrings a year earlier, and there was an electronic bracelet on her leg. It was a matter of 5 minutes to calculate it. During the trial, Doris had already sworn under oath that she would never steal again. By that time, she was 90 years old. The court took pity on her. "I promise that the theft is over," Doris said during an interview with Favux. "I want to devote the remaining time to writing an autobiography. Recently, I was offered to make a film about my life. If this happens, I dream of giving all the money I receive to a charity that helps abandoned children."